Mr. Summer. Here's our second. If you don't know Kindle back there in the back. Appreciate that. And I think she knows everybody else. Probably the name everybody knows is Kindle, right? Everybody knows Kindle. I know, no attitude. Anyway, thank you, thanks Scott and Rich. Welcome to the board meeting for April the 28th. There's all the meeting to order here at 6 o'clock, and then we're going to do the pledge of allegiance in Dylan is going to lead. Members of the board here tonight, and so we do have a floor. I think Bria is back in, so not a bad thing to do right now. Let's see, next thing on the agenda is comments for the record, and I have just a couple for you. And the first one is that I'm really sorry that the weather created havoc for the Easter Bunny and the kidfish on Saturday, April the 19th. But just so you know, the Easter Bunny still has 7,000 eggs to deliver, and they're actually at my house. And so we will have our Easter egg hunt on Sunday, May the 25th. Activities will start at noon, and then we'll start the hunts by age, like we normally do, starting at 12:30. I am sorry that we had to reschedule it, but hopefully it will be a good addition to the Memorial Day weekend. And I do have a very personal thank you to all the Easter Bunny helpers who stuffed the 7,000 plus eggs with candy. They really are the best, and I appreciate that. Also, I want to say thank you to the members who made it to our first community manager and president coffee session last Thursday. We had a really good conversation and coffee and donuts that were there. And our members had good questions and some concerns, and then also appreciation. So that was really nice for them to be able to have the opportunity to share on some of our DOA efforts. I also want to say thank you to George and Chris for coming and participating. And our next one will be on Thursday, May the 15th. It'll be at 9 o'clock in the Southwest room. And I hope to see you there. And that's the Thursday before our board meeting. So our board meeting in May will be the 19th. And last thing I will tell you is if you're interested in serving on the board or being on a committee, please let one of these board members know. We're all volunteers, and the more of us working together, the better we are. So if you'd like to serve in some way, lots of you are already serving that are here tonight, so I thank you for that. But if you know somebody else that needs to, let them know. All right, next thing up is comments from our members. Do any members have comments tonight? All right. Moving on, the next is the minutes, and so we have an opportunity to approve the minutes from our March 24th, 2025 meeting. Do I have a motion to approve? Is there any discussion or corrections with history? Any other corrections, any other discussions on the minutes? All those in favor of approving the March 24th, 2025 minutes, raise your hand. So we have approve those minutes. All right, next on the agenda is our treasurer again, Bessie.
So, thank you for the opportunity to present the report. Publishing this last month before, but it's pretty small. What I'm trying to do is kind of the topic and then kind of something different now. Should all and I thought so I'll say that towards the end. If there's any particular questions about it, questions about it. So overall, you can see the numbers here. Revenue was down about $20,000 year to date, about $60,000. Expenses came down less. We had that correction in January. Budgets were still pretty good. It's $60,000. Side interest income budget is income is not budgeted. So that's something Rich and I talked about briefly that probably that change that to the budget. So it's right now again, this is just the budget, but we should actually come with that. Change of the city sirens, the very succeeded in a very severe. Something about this. Just like said, also the expense contributors said the launch revenue was down. Also, the lot expenses were down, about $12,000. Golf course expenses were under about $400. But you see some of these others kind of peaked up. In parks and lakes, it's going to be bumpy as you spend on different projects. So, by the end of the year, hopefully, it all balances out. But any given month, depending on the projects that Rich and Scott and the team are putting together, you're going to see different amounts there. Administration is over a little bit for the month of March, but it's still down also $1,000 year to date. So those are things that Rich is keeping aside and make sure we're getting there. There's a couple one-time items in there as well.
Like mentioned, the one we had rollback taxes on the property on 60 acres was $40,000. Major big problem.
Recording in progress.
From the reserve funds. ARF. We're going forward 1 second.
Sorry. Difficulty. There you go.
So our fund, you see, coming 2.1 million. That's going to be a place that we continue to see this get drawn down in the schedule that we've gone through a number of times. Rich and kind of focused on how we extend some lots of things and making that more and more accurate. And in ARF today, it's the schedule itself is more accurate than it's been since I've been involved last 3 or 4 years. But we're going to see some money being spent on that just because not normalized certain items. So $2.1 million down. It's going to be less than that going forward. Then obviously you'll average split that out with the golf course reserve fund. So the funds in there are not being replenished as fast as they're going out this year. Moving over to the delinquent accounts. So when I went through this and I've been trying to do some reading to be a good treasurer, one of the benchmarks I saw was that delinquent accounts, best practice and keep them less than 3% of your total budget, and we're less than 1%. So even though you see some money there, we traditionally have run pretty low delinquency rate. And I look back at the last 3 years, so we've never come close to over 1% delinquency. Interest income for the year, $141,000, almost $142,000. That's one of the things I want to keep our eye on, as far as being able to budget some of this and understand a little bit better. And the initiation fee through March around $53,000, which is great. You know, everyone knows this is a year when, or this is the time of year when we start seeing more houses move. So we're pretty much on our pace, I think, for $250,000 collection and initiation fees, which is exactly. So, you know, this year we're going to put more rooms, a lot of the opportunity this fall, to figure out what we're going to do. You know, with checking balances, pretty straightforward. You need to continue to look at how much money is at First State Bank and the accounts make sure we're covered from an FDIC perspective, but you can see all the money in the various bank accounts. I ended back in the investments, Scott, you can just go through the next couple, because there's a lot of things here. So as you saw last time, we had a lot of 4-week investments, so they matured. This will roll a lot of them back in the 4 weeks. So the guidance to her from the Ways and Means Committee is that we need to go longer duration. You know, interest is, or inflation is probably not, well, doesn't feel like it's going down. May tick up a little bit. So interest rates from here might be higher than we thought we would be by the, you know, middle of this year. So we're trying to increase the duration so we can capture some of those interest rates as soon as they go down there. So we go to the last slide, slide 10, Scott. So this is a little bit about the launch we talked about. And really, I've talked about twice around the budget convention for one. And hopefully at least 6 people in this room remember from, some can remember some of the decisions were made during the budget process last year that in the budget didn't want to supplement a lot and wanted to launch to break even. So what I have on the screen is what was budgeted for 24 and what was budgeted for 25. So you can see that we really pushed from a budget perspective a lot more revenue, or we challenged Rich and Jeremy to create a lot more revenue, so we can cover the costs within the launch. You see that in the budget perspective, it's at 64% more revenue, 27%, you know, increase in expenses. So you really, you know, 2.5 times the revenue to the expense increase. So that's a pretty big challenge for you know, Jeremy, the lodge, and all the people associated. If you look at the actual versus the budget's a little bit more extreme. You know, we have about a 17% variance between revenue and expenses at the end of last year. But we're still trying to go from, you know, 17% variance to 0 pretty quickly. We ended up with revenue of just over $1 million last year, and we need to end up with, and that's sort of the stream of $1 million. So, it's generally accepted it's about $4,000 revenue this year. That's very close. So why do I bring this up here? And I'll argue this, but it's really just to provide air cover and way for information. I think the work that's being done is tremendous improvements in the pacing, all of the activities, and a lot of the music, push a shot, you never listen to this, whatever. Here, it's really not good. So, I don't want anything to happen to people who understand this out. We put a pretty big challenge in front of them. They can do everything they can towards that challenge. I think it's here to solve it. We're going to see that might be a hard challenge to be. Think about, you know, how do you think about this? We're going to think about how we so if they're money could come from a place the bond see so Questions? I think it's the secret I could kind of topic. It is helpful. I know if it is helpful. We can
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, in summer months, I think the only thing out there in the patio, so we definitely got a lot. Exactly. All right, thank you, Dan, I appreciate that. Let's see, moving on to committee and business updates. You have this, I think in front of you there, you have some additional committee updates for this month. For celebration, for golf, lake management, land use, nominating, flowers, planning, and also add. Is there a motion to approve those committee updates? All right, got Chris and Larry here. Is there any discussion, questions on this? All right. Yeah, we're ready for this. All right. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Say aye. Thanks, Jim. 8-0, you have approved this condition. Thank you very much. All right, next item was adopting law committee, and I don't see Dean here.
Yes, I'll take it up. I couldn't find it. Our anywhere. I think it's discussed in golf committee. I think it's all of the committees, but the GAG committee, which is there to help Brian with the greens, isn't needed anymore. The golf committee recommended to dissolve that committee. We just wanted to make that on record.
Okay, so we're gonna solve the GAG. That's great. And what happens with the Dean, who exactly represents it?
Yeah, he already resigned. It was on his recommendation.
Okay. So he's gonna want to part.
Right.
Yes. Yes, I know. What's other people? Yeah, he's still right there. So yes. So Larry. I heard that. All right. Larry. Makes a motion to approve the change and dissolve the GAG committee and current off committee. Is there a second? Susan seconds it. All those in favor, please raise your hand, say aye, Billy. Thank you. 0. You have approved that change for him. Next order of business is the Park Three Association. Jeff Becker.
Just to give you a quick update on part 3. Give you a quick update. They're going to be stringing the greens into this month. And then hopefully the weather will hold them through and the July, August. I got started making some plans to get a plan there. Right now the part 3 group is looking at, of course itself is looking really good, looking at kind of the dry bump area where the shade structure would be kind of a beer garden in one direction and kind of some drive. So the question I have back for you is we will have most of our selections done before next month. If we need to wait before we go forward with any of those plans to have you look at, review, and approve, or if we get into the architectural committee, can we move forward with some of those?
Jeff, I have you on the agenda to talk about the Park Three Association. It's about that becoming an organization for the lodge. I don't have you on there for anything else.
We'll save that.
Yes, because I'm not sure what else you're talking about. So.
We filed the paperwork with Rich. And everything that's fulfilled last month.
we approved the association bylaws. So do I have a motion to approve the part three association? Did you go to the lodge? The lodge committee?
Actually, no, it's not.
Typically, that's our process, is it goes to the lodge committee, and the lodge committee approves that, and they make that recommendation. That's what they do. So, the question I have is, when did you approve your bylaws, or when did you ordinance?
We had our first meeting about a month ago. And again, that first meeting, so you can file with the state for the taxes, and so we have completed that. And now we just, I guess we're waiting for your final approval, and then we file. Okay.
Hopefully you need our approval for that part.
That's your association has nothing to do from that perspective. You're just asking, you're on the agenda asking if you approve some pieces of line, so you're asking.
Well, I'm sorry, my thought, understanding was that was completed last. I didn't, that was just a bylaw.
Bylaws are already brought to us. And that's what you approve. So if the board would like to go ahead and approve them as an organization, or do you want it to come to the lodge committee? And Larry second, all right. There you go, Jeff. Sorry. Not trying to make it hard for you. There's a motion on the floor to approve the part three association and to be recognized as a group for the lodge. Well, I'm going to say that motion, Larry, the second, any other discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand. Okay, all right. So it has been approved, we consider, so Jeff, you are now an official organization, you can make reservations at the lodge, so there you go. Now, we need $112,000, just saying. All right, next, order of business on here, George on, and with their legal.
Thank you. Just thought we'd give the board and the community a little update on where we stand with Memorial Park. We have approved the design. And that's what it's going to look like. It's over across the road from the where the fire department is located now. That's the artist's conception. The next stage is to get the engineering drawings done, do a site evaluation, so we can get the groundbreaking part taken care of. So that's where it is. So you all know we modified it a little bit. We made it a little bit smaller, primarily because of budget restraints. 50 feet diameter was just a little bit bigger than we probably needed. 40 feet. That whole area will be landscaped very nicely, as you saw in the artist rendition. And we hope to make this a real nice place for people to drive by and as they generally kind of. That's the engineering sketch of all the things that are going to be done on the top. You'll see little bits that they'll have marble inserts. They'll have the name of the veteran, the service he served in, and his dates of service on those flags. The middle is going to be a little raised concrete area where our flag burning ceremony for Flag Day retirement ceremonies will take place. It will be moved in and out as needed. So that's what it's going to look like. We give everybody a chance to see it. I think we put it in the communique last month. If not, it's going in this month, so the community can do a good look at what's in it. Yes, excuse me.
This came to the park committee this last week, and there were some suggestions that were made in there. I think hopefully it would not only potentially reduce their cost, but with the the 7 flags there, my understanding from the group was that the service flags, individual service flags would only be flown like 4 or 5 times a year.
That's correct. And Clark was at that, and he relayed that information to me. So the committee's idea of having a plaque there instead of probably well received, far less expense, and not a bunch of empty flagpoles standing out there 360 days a year. So we'll make that adjustment. We'll do some kind of a plaque or something that represents each service branch.
Okay. There was also some suggestion about moving this a little closer to that live oak tree. That way,
Where we staked it out, it is closer to that tree, maybe 10 feet. It was just so it gets a better view as we look down the cove. We get a better view from the seating area.
Okay, so you guys are okay with the way that's laid down now as far as the position of it?
The positioning going to be right near where that tree is, and we've got that whole half acre to work with. So
Yeah, just be careful. That is an awful wet area. There's a spring that runs down through there and it's pretty soft. If you get closer, you go to where the crossing goes underneath the road. If you keep it up on the hill, you're probably safe and dry, but it can get pretty mushy in there at times when it's wet.
that's where we're going to have engineers come out and do an assessment of where the location is going to be, and we might have to adjust it a little bit based on elevations and things. But that's
Also,
going to be
they're
the job.
trying to find yes, where the breaker is, where that light pole, the pole's going away, but you still need electricity, and nobody seems to know.
Nobody knows who owns that pole. I've been to the county, and the Grishes, he's researched it.
I know where it
It's a
is.
Pentex pole.
It's a Pentex
It
pole.
was underground to the other pole, then we just put it back into there.
Right,
Well, we have been next in, Rick to come out and
We're working.
Do you anticipate that you'll need any more parking?
we do. And that area, there's that small little parking area now. We'll probably extend that, maybe make it twice as big. And have a path from there to the entrance in case someone with a wheelchair needs to be transported from the parking area to the memorial.
We just had a couple of questions, not needing to backtrack, 'cause I know we talked about this last year at some point. And I just grabbed a slight members in favor of veterans and like the idea of the park. And yeah, I don't mean to kind of walk back and talk about that, but I just wonder if there's so little space that's lakefront. We've got a lot of space on the other side of the road. I just wonder, there might be consideration moving to the other side because those are from on water. Very few opportunities that you can see the lake and get close to the lake. And I'm just wondering if this is going to be like a wall down right there, so that obstruct the view of the lake. And
That wall is 30 inches tall,
3 inches.
30 inches tall, okay? And it's going to be set down. And this is going to, in our opinion, and we've spoken to, it's going to enhance the view of the lake.
Yeah, we
Because
got
right now, you got a scruffy old tree, an old pole that nobody knows, well, we know who belongs to it now. This will only enhance that, maybe bring people in to sit and actually look at the lake.
Yeah, I'm just even, but what you're gonna take out some of the grass parking. So a lot of the green space on this side, from the base side of Tyler Drive is being paved, sounds like.
Yeah, very small. I mean,
Why are you putting in additional parking?
well, there's room for about 4 cars right now. I mean, we'll make it maybe 8. And a path from that parking area, you know where it's asphalted right now, crossing the driving range. Might need a little more space. A lot of the parking we thought would be where the driving range is, but that's going away. We don't know what's going to be over there, so we have to be able to accommodate 6 to 8 cars. We don't anticipate crowds over there, except maybe on Flag Day or something. And there's parking at the fire department across the street. But it will be nice. We'll get your approval before we do anything, but we kind of set this a little further back up the hill and more towards the north. So it doesn't obscure the view as you're driving by, but it gives you a real nice view of the cove. You're sitting there. It used to be way down, probably another 100 feet further south of where it is now.
And replacing black bubbles with black.
Yeah, that would help to maintain the enhance that too. And I mean,
That'll reduce the obstructed view. Right now, if you sit there and you're looking, all you're seeing is a bunch of houses across there. So you're not really seeing the lake. There's nowhere to sit. There's nowhere to really take a view in of the cove.
I just think
This will provide that.
I just think that we do need to be, I'm not trying to put a little water on it. I just think we need to be cognizant of the fact that we have so little green space. Just go out and play with it. And I'm not saying that this is the case, but this, as we move forward, the next year or decades, I want to see.
With the design, it's a over there with the driving, there is. They can look at their side of less than a half.
That's my point, is that we've got a lot of land on the other side of the road. Always get out of this statement, it's like, there's a lot of land. But in terms of like. Very fine. I just think that. The amount of green space. The building was not damaged, in favor. Just, there's more pavement we have, less grass, it's about 400 feet.
Well, I'll make a couple comments on that. I think this will enhance the area and bring people to it to actually enjoy the green space that will be around it. That's only a 40-foot diameter concrete slab. There's really nothing there now but scrub trees and as many times I've driven by there, see a couple of guys go fishing once in a while. Never seen kids playing. Never seen families sitting down, looking down the cove. I think this will bring back those kind of people out there. They'll have a nice view of the cove, looking towards the lake, place to sit. We think it enhances, and as you're driving in, you're going to be able to see it. Visitors will see it.
And I'm not saying I feel it's fun, but I just think it's fun. All the needs that we could build now.
So I agree with the concept.
It did.
So
We've actually. It's the height. This, that's the end of the park already. So started out, I think, 36 inches.
It did.
All and it's been reduced to 30. It's.
And the seating trays, if you look at the artist's rendition, the seating trays, you can see over the wall and actually still see green space before you see water.
I agree. As far as this goes.
And the improvement issue. Part of the. Looking at this, I'm hard to visualize it, that various sets.
sitting there with the see grass. See. This.
We're gonna provide a place for people to come and sit, reflect, view the lake and bring their kids, hopefully bring their kids, talk about what veteran is. The nice landscaping around there, I think it will improve the whole area.
Originally, we had it in front, at one point in time, a long time ago, I think it's.
There was talk about that.
I've been watching it, and then as we go through the master plan, and across the creek, and where it is. So it's been several different places. So I'm going to continue to say, get your renderings and those things, be ready to go, ready to work, because yes, we did approve it. As we will work, that's where we would okay. But I do say, we can always move something. Engineer may find that it's not the best place for it, so, you know, adjust and adapt as they do in the military all the time, so. We'll do what we do at this point in time.
Gotcha.
So.
Yeah, it was, you know, and in which the majority opinion of veterans said we didn't want to be walking on the names of veterans. If there those that were killed and
You're not getting the bridge.
no, we're not gonna do the pavers. There'll be marble plaques, they're 2 inch by 4 inch on those cliffs. And there will be the names and the ranks and branch of service and years of service. Place of the bridge. Nobody going on. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thanks, Sean. Appreciate the feedback. All right, next item on the agenda is Gerald Smith. Talk about 52 acres. Signage. I'm here to represent the land use committee. I chaired that. And specifically, we're going to talk about 52 acres. We have met with, we put together a plan and we met with the golf committee, the safety and security committee, the land use committee, and Parks and Rec with our plan and ideas, which centers around we're approving the 52 acre some naming areas as well as some other amenities that we have in mind. Next slide, please. It should be in your packet. We have 10 items that we'd like to cover with you that would pertain to either the naming right and our funds or some signage, which is going to result in some funds required of about $8,000. Our recommendation is the naming of the 52 acre site at Little Wolf Park, which is just adjacent and right across from Little Wolf Cove. The naming of the access road off of Kiowa Drive West going into the driving range of the Park 3 at Little Wolf Lane. A sign outside that you would see coming from the north or south from Kiowa Drive out, drive east, west. Double-sided that would have Little Wolf Park and a stop sign coming out of Little Wolf Lane onto Kiowa Drive west. An exit sign along with the painted stop line. Caution signs on Kiowa Drive west from both directions coming from the north and from the south. Speed limit signs on Little Wolf Lane at 15 miles per hour. Purchase and install an access road gate with lock that would allow the security department to lock up the gate at night after hours, so that much like the other maintenance facilities in Kiowa Drive,
or Kiowa. A sign for the driving range, a sign for Little Wolf Pond, and a sign for the walking trail. Next slide, please. Going to the first, or the layout, the access road, you can see coming in off of Kiowa Drive West. The access road would allow them to come into Kiowa Drive, or the roadway right there. Next slide, please. Here's what the sign would look like, Little Wolf Park. And that would be the sign that you would see coming from the north and the south. That would be double-sided, and it kind of maintains the Native American name, and it would be seen as an entry into the 52 acres. Next slide, please. You can see here coming off of, a little bit better, coming in off of Kiowa Drive West. Little Wolf Lane, you see Little Wolf Pond over to the left. Then you see where the driving range and the par 3 course are in the distance. Bearings are correct. Next slide. Here's where we would position the Little Wolf Park sign. It would be near the entranceway, but set back enough that it wouldn't impair vision. It wouldn't be bothersome to people. And it would be positioned right there, double-sided. You can see too, we've got a position for a split rail fence and some reestablished some landscaping and turf right there around the sign with the landscape bed. We take down the barbed wire fence. It's been a keepsake for a lot of years. And then we would position speed limit signs. I think we all felt like if we weren't careful, speed could become a problem inside the 52 acres on Little Wolf Lane. So we felt that a speed limit sign both coming into and leaving the site would be appropriate. Next slide. Here's where the sign would be positioned. The entry roadway is right in front of us, going left to right. Some of what I just described as a split rail and the security gate, that would be the entry sign. Next slide, please. You can see there the stop sign and the pavement marking that would show cars when they came up to that position to stop and look left and look right, that we think will help prevent accidents. We're really concerned about potential accidents, so we're taking precautions both with the stop sign and the pavement marking. And then next slide, we have a couple of golf cart traffic signs both on the north side and the south side of the entry. Do not have a change in speed limits. I'll make that clear. It will be 25 miles per hour like it is in Kiowa. But it would clearly show that golf cart traffic, golf cart activity, and to be cautious as you come to that area. Next slide, please. The speed limit signs and security gate we kind of covered, talked about. We believe it's important to have security to prevent vandalism in the area and other misdemeanor activities, which we want to try to avoid, right? And the speed limit signs as well. Next slide. Here's what a couple of the stone signs. We're using a supplier that has done the stones for the 18-hole golf course. We're also using the same supplier for the par 3 items that are the signage that we're putting in there. But the driving range would show First State Bank. First State Bank, if you recall, made a nice donation to the driving range, and they have exclusivity. And we've run the sign, the driving range sign by them, and they've approved that. So they're okay with that. Then we would have a sign for the walking trail and for Louisville Pond. Next slide. Again, kind of getting your bearings down, you can see kind of the stars there where the Louisville Pond sign would go, the walking trail as well, and then the driving range. And then the part 3, which is a separate zone, would be closer up to the start of the part 3 course. Next slide, please. Here's an aerial photo of the part 3, and if you haven't had a chance to go on Facebook and look under Lake Kiowa part 3, we did a photo shoot here a month ago, and there's a drone flyover that you can look at. We encourage you to take a look at that. But this is some nice work that Jim Fox has done for us, and really doing some of the site views and some of the overhead views, and likewise, most of the technical work, the actual drones is being handled by Christian Morrison as a volunteer to help us. So he's done a great job with that. Here you can see, kind of where the restroom is and potential pavilion area around the putting green and the practice area. Next slide, please. So the summary and the recommendations right here is recommend a naming site for Little Wolf Park, recommend naming access road for Little Wolf Lane, recommend the purchase of a 2-sided entry sign, recommend the purchase of a driving range sign, recommend the purchase of tombstone identification signs, one for the walking trail and one for Little Wolf Pond. Along with that comes the purchase of signs, poles, materials, and fencing and some other items there for a grand total of $8,000. So we're asking for you to approve the various names, signs, as well as a budget not to exceed $8,000. Any questions, comments? This has been reviewed by Safety and Security, been reviewed by the Land Use, been reviewed by Parks and Rec, as well as the Golf Committee. So we made our round.
Thank you, Gerald. I appreciate that. Questions for him?
Gerald, you say it's been reviewed, was it recommended by all of those committees?
Yes, they all supported it. There was no one that opposed. And likewise, First State Bank has signed off on their sign, which is very important, right? Yes. We need to make that happen. And by the way, we're trying to orchestrate a tour for First State Bank in the next 2 weeks. If anyone would like to be a part of that, let Rich or let me know. We're trying to make that happen. Very informal. Any other questions?
Any questions for him?
No, just Gerald, other than, we look at the amenities that now that do want to get out of the view. I would call it the way we want it to be. It's a nice place to take a look. Yeah.
Absolutely. Further questions for you? Is there a motion on the floor to approve? Okay. Second, all right, there's a second. All right, so the motion for you is to approve $8,000 or not to exceed $8,000 for the purchase of the signage on 2 acres. All those in favor, raise your hand. Opposed? All right, 6-0. 54. Approved. Thank you, Gerald. Thanks for all your work in making the rounds. All right, next item on the agenda is
The proposal from the Water and Tavern Committee is to take the area that currently is taken up by the contract lost and found. And anything else? If you the locked cabinets that are numbering 20 that go in that space that would be for people who want to order line through the lodge they will have to pay the lines for fire. That they were. Be a working shoulder that the lines also may be or hopefully that line presenting that the reason we're doing it is that there are only so many types of line experience also that the lines can afford and to provide to all of us that are eating there. And this will provide a way where if someone has a particular line they prefer, they can find it. It goes into their cabinet and then they can call ahead and say, we'd like you to open this and such a time and have it ready for a table. Right up there and ask such and such a bottle. There will also be a wine cooler that's a 30-inch wine cooler that will be available if they have 5 wines, they can call and say, please put those in at 3:00 because be coming every time. I think it's classy. The bid we received is from Dozier Custom Cabinets. They used to do that we follow these after cost of this the proposal is 20 lockers and they would be leased by the people who wanted to lease them at $750 per year. And we would make a determination as to how, if the proposal is approved, how to get some. I've already had for 12 requests, and I said we got to decide it now. Nancy has suggested a lottery, and I think that's an excellent idea. And one of the big things that we looked at is the amount of time it would take for the recovery of the investment. And we looked at doing it at $600. $600 a unit. That would make it about almost 2 years to recover it. So we went to $750 so that we could recover that entire cost within a year. And then it a great price out of or maybe years ago. We also discussed the probability that we would be able with these lockers to have several wine tasting opportunities for ones who have security for other people and have a charcuterie boards that our staff is doing now that are so very so overall really is an base for itself. Questions?
Go ahead. I guess I would just misinterpret it. It's not whether that you buy personally or in your locker.
We have to be in compliance with the APC. And so you would have to order any of the spirits or this particular bottle size. And same with the wine. And one of the advantages is that people will be able to buy that at a cost a little lower than what you would pay at total country. So we're looking at somewhere around $8 or $10. So 20 years ago, most good restaurants starts $3 to $5. And that also provides a tip for the service. Any other questions?
Sarah, is there a motion? To make a motion for that.
I'll make a
All right. You get a question out in the audience if you don't know the board member.
This, how many bottles would a locker hold?
Around 280.
So that's a very good size. Wow. Okay.
That'd be enough.
So roughly 10.
Yes. Yes. Any other questions? Ron?
Yes. George, on that, we could members share that? Yes. They would have to identify it under one name, but there's nothing wrong with someone getting one of the orders and then having people that come in with them.
To me, you've already sold quite a few out there. I'm just asking.
Why would you explain where it's going to be again?
If you walk toward the restaurant, you know, the big brown cabinet that has the code hangers for you put your codes. And what we'll do now is we'll get a portable code hanger for having dinner. And people will be able to hang their codes there. And then they'll go back. So, but it's rare to use the hang codes. It's used for people to leave codes and then they bought it and deposit it down other cabinets.
So something sounds like that's something. Benchmark against.
That's pretty close. I looked at the plan in Galveston and they charge $1,000. That's very low scale restaurant. And so we're talking somewhere in the median range.
Any other questions? Right. You have a motion on the floor to approve, you want, in your motion, you want to approve the 16,850 as well as the 4,000. Is that correct? Okay. All right. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Those. So you got approved the purchase and the build out of your blanket. Sort of what your timeline is? Phase, because I think people are antsy to. Along with it. Okay, great. People not going to line at the door and be at that meeting, so maybe we should promote that, and that might get more people here. Okay, Ron, next.
The next item we have on the lodging tavern is we have received a donation from the Finance Club. Over the donation, but that's not here. That's received the donation. We didn't go through that account, so we are. But everybody that's supposed to approve it has approved it. And donation. And it's $5,500 to replace silver. The current silver, something a lot of other items that are not the best that Walmart offers. And this will be a heavier operating very service silverware song that we've already got the money for here. We've already had it picked out, we're ready to go. Just need to do that.
In seconds. Yes. Any other discussion? All those in favor, accepting the donation. It is 8-0. No no's, and thank you very much, KWC. I believe you're up here.
That's it. That was back. Thanks. All right, in your packet, Rich has sent to you a recommendation from the Rules Enforcement Committee, made modifications to the fines and penalty structure to clarify all of the suspensions are up to, and I will have that corrected and sent out to Rich tomorrow morning. So this is the result of the board coming to the committee back in October of last year to review primarily the fines and penalties because they've not been updated for somewhere between 8 and 10 years. And it was felt that the fines in particular needed to be more in line with today's economy. Needs to be a deterrent for people to make violations, and apparently the way they're structured in the past, it has not been a deterrent. So what you have in the following pages are the recommendations. Some of the categories, no changes were made. The changes were primarily made in areas where safety was involved. Speeding, traffic control devices, some things on the lake, violations that may put people in jeopardy in harm's way. So through page 6 is primarily the recommendation to make the changes. As you can see, most of the areas we didn't recommend there was a change. We felt it was sufficient penalty for those infractions. And quite honestly, there were almost 0 infractions in those categories over the last 4 years. Any questions through page 4? Here you go. Reckless driving, we hear a lot from members that they don't know what that means, so we want to clarify it. So we added the statement to the existing rule that 15 miles per hour over posted speed in Lake Kiowa is considered reckless driving. And that's the way the citations have been written for the last at least 4 years since I've been involved in this. Questions there? No. All right. This. Yes, sir.
Additional or speeding, then reckless driving with that.
No, you'll get reckless driving, but you will not get charged with speeding. You will not have a citation that you have to pay a fine or penalty. It'll be reckless driving, but it will be considered a speeding ticket to go against your accumulated tickets violations in a 12-month period.
What are you doing? On reckless driving, we've had some of these cases come across in the last 60, 90 days. Are they automatically getting a 30-day suspension like this reads? $300 fine plus 30-day suspension?
The current reckless driving is $200 fine. And the first offense does not have a suspension of privilege. Yeah, it does have 30-day suspension of privileges. Yes, in most cases, that suspension has been either reduced or eliminated based on the circumstance.
I think there's a big difference between a speeding ticket and reckless driving. So I don't think that's right. That's just my opinion as a member. I don't think I would do reckless driving. We have a tendency to not even write speeding tickets, put your 10 over, and there's only a 5 mile an hour window, and then on a 6 mile per hour, it's a $300 fine and a 30-day suspension. My opinion, but we're talking through this. The other side is that this is something. If you're 1 mile over versus 30 miles over, it's the same right now.
On reckless driving?
No, I mean, before we don't define reckless driving, we 15 miles or not or more over. You're 1 mile an hour over 3 miles an hour. It's just considered speeding, and it's the same. So this is at least
no.
It's a penalty for exceeding speed limit.
Currently, security issued citation if it's 15 miles an hour over.
I know, but I'm talking about the way the rule for speed. speeding violation.
Speeding violation?
Right. You're speeding from 1 mile over for 30 miles.
Technically you are.
Right. That's not, the point is that this enhance the penalty for like basically being more dangerous to me as opposed to just a few miles over.
What's a few miles over?
Anything more than speed limit, less than 15.
Anything less than 15.
Right.
Well, the committee felt that anything less, and realize the citations don't get written until you're 10 miles an hour or higher over. So that is a small window, but it is 15 miles an hour over before you get to reckless driving.
Right.
And there aren't a lot of those.
I guess my point is that I'm in favor of doing something along these lines because there's got to be a greater penalty for exceeding the speed limit to a degree that's more than just 15 miles. So it basically discourages like excessive speed. Obviously speed is 1 mile.
But the highest speed recorded for citation in the last 3 years has been 43 miles an hour.
Really? It's been recorded.
That's been recorded.
And so, are you suggesting it should be greater than 15?
My recommendation, I just have to put in.
It's 20. And so your recommendation is, it's good the way it is because it's saying it's.
I mean, why 15 versus 20? I mean, there's got to be some reason, right? And 15, I mean, going 15 over, these units are calculated for reasons, a lot of reasons, no shield over. I mean, 15 over is pretty bad.
It is here. And in many areas, it's reckless, even at 35. Again, John, this is a safety issue. There aren't a whole lot of people that exceed that, go above 40. If you use the formula that the state of Texas uses to calculate reckless driving, we'd be down somewhere around 38 miles.
Yeah, my point is that I'm in favor of a stiffer penalty for doing it.
Right.
Okay. But and the board has every opportunity to modify and change this as they feel appropriate. This is the result of dozens of hours of discussion and input from committee members and some board members, community managers, security, members of the community that have actually been cited for reckless driving and what their opinions are. So this is just our recommendation. If you feel that it warrants a modification, you have every ability to do that.
That's part of what we'll do now, is we can certainly help do that if we want to make any changes along the way. I will say that although you said we don't get any tickets for 10 over until you go 10 over, I think you can't say that. That if you go 16 or 20 miles an hour, you are speeding and you're eligible for a ticket or a warning. And so I don't think that's something that needs to go out there and say, well, as long as I go 24, I'm good. Does that make sense?
We understand.
Okay.
We know people, and
I know.
I have a hard time coming down the hill on
Yes.
Howard Drive West without slamming on the brakes. It's not easy sometimes staying under 35.
Right. And you know which house you put your brakes on. I got
Yeah,
that.
we do.
Just past Dylan's. So, all right, George, and so there is Dylan is recommending 20. We'll continue to discuss that in a little bit. Go ahead, George.
Okay.
Finish. Let's run this.
All right. The main thing that's been coming to our attention in the last 6 months or so is a situation where members and leases, they currently get accumulated fines, accumulated violations that are called a period of fines and suspensions is more serious. And being there's been a lot of delivery services coming in here, Instacart, Walmart, Uber people coming in here. And they are guests of the member. And they don't seem to have the same respect for our rules and regulations as we do here. There's been a lot of speeding tickets issued, and as a result, those speeding tickets have accumulated for a member, and the fines have increased, and suspensions have been assigned. It's recommendation to the committee that for those types of incidents, if the member does not know who that driver is going to be, he's calling Walmart, he's calling Ox Furniture, he shouldn't be responsible for accumulation of those violations. He should still be responsible for the fine associated with the first violation in that category. And going through the last year or so, in particular, members that came to the committee either in person or in writing thought that it was okay for them to pay the fine or willing to pay the fine, but they didn't feel it should go against their accumulated violations, which would be then suspect or could be used as a suspension. So we felt eliminating the unknown driver as a violator and going against a member's accumulated violations would be unreasonable. So we've written in, yes, they're not under the control of the member or receive, i.e. delivery drivers, delivery services, Uber, will not be counted toward members or receives accumulated offenses. Instead, violation without additional penalty. Instead, the member or receive would be responsible for the fine associated with the first violation without additional penalties for repeat offenses. I think that's it, probably with the people on the store. I'm sure you've been asked about it.
So we've got to have 3 delivery services in skinny days.
If you would not go against you would pay a fine for each of those at the first violation in that category. If it was speeding, it would be whatever the first violation is for speeding, the penalty. If it were a traffic control device, like a stop sign, it would be, they're in the same category, it'd be just the first violation. So all 3 of those, they could all come in the same day, even though we get fined at the first level for all 3.
Because they were different figures, correct?
Correct.
Focusing on people like entities like Amazon. And I have a contract that's got to be my house. Also has 5 other jobs going out here. And I don't know, I he did some, he come to my house. I had one a couple of weeks ago that had 3 different jobs out here. Contractor, my contractor, Cindy, they had parts. And he got parts for all for jobs they had. But I stopped him and said, it's out there that day. That's where it was going at that moment.
Were you the registered member to give him permission to do that? Most contractors have their own pads, and their fines go directly to the contractor.
So if you have a contractor and he comes in and gets permission from security, I mean, then that is fine.
If the contractor has your approval to come in, you've given him authorization to enter Lake Kiowa, then you would be responsible. It was real difficult to separate those. So most contractors out here, lawn services are a good example. They have their own gate passes, contractors pass 6 months at a time, some. And the fines can go up and down, now the homeowner, because like you said, it could be, he could make 3 stops, or as long as there's gonna be 10 guys today, who's responsible for that?
So all we have to do is every contractor that we get that go by, to get 6 months passed.
That's the easiest option for us. Yes,
Just a couple of questions. The suspension, some of these others.
it's, sorry, I didn't do that.
Some of these violations.
Yes,
So is he to still apply the suspension to this responsible party? Like is that goes off and so that's the one.
this is monetary fine.
But it doesn't say that.
The modification to
Fine, this is.
I'll defer James.
Just want to make sure that. Fine. Then to run against fines. I like the spirit that I do think that it's sticky. Fine, it should be brings out with that is contractors. I wonder if it makes more specific. Figure out who's when I see issue with my side, like I said, where here's one guy who's it's
And that does happen. We're aware of that. So if you feel that's unreasonable and want to modify that, we're good with it. This was the consensus of 12 people. Committee members and security. Said actually.
I would agree with somebody who's not being the environment. House number you have hundreds of. Right, yeah, contract. That's a lot of capital pass. Keep out another. Where a lot of pass.
So I guess that begs the question, so you've got the contractor has 5 subs. Are those 5 subs listed in security?
No.
Yes, they aren't, but that would be the contractor's responsibility to make sure those 5 subs are.
It has been asked and they've been so funny.
Those people, any of they have to say that it's a contractor do it.
The contractor would actually have to notify security that XYZ guys come in or subcontractors come in by name.
So in Ronnie's case, that sub that ticket would have gone up to that contractor. Yes, I understand. So that would be how many contractors, people have, they'll apply here.
For our contractors, or specifically for like speeding, for general and vehicle control, contractors are already responsible, like contractor has a permit. And the homeowner, let's say he has all his subs, the contractor is responsible for all subs. So if the sub said that he was working for you, it was part of those violations, and a building permit with the contractor, that's how it is. That's not a violation, let's say it did damage the property. That would be on then like he was home for speeding. That's a violation. That's how it's written.
Having the adjustments, tomorrow morning, I'll send it off to Rich for everybody.
Just. Maybe we should put something based on it.
And we totally agree.
Yeah, I like this right here, that just, yeah, it's not me.
Okay.
And this is small, it's.
Yeah, we totally agree with that. It's out of your control. All right, moving on, payment of gas fees on the golf course. If you read through the rules right now, if you don't pay for your guests on the golf course, there's a $25 fine. If you don't get caught, you just save $50. So we feel the penalty should at least be more than the fees themselves. So that's why on the top of page 6, you'll see failure to register guests and pay the appropriate guest fees for result of the following fines and penalties. First violation is $100 fine plus the appropriate guest fees. You might have 2 or 3 guests on there. And we feel anybody that's going to violate that more than one time should be really needs to be determined. I live on the golf course, I see this happening all the time. Any questions on that?
Yes.
Towards just an observation, it's also a responsibility of the road and staff to make sure that everyone comes in like all is or under the rules and enforce that.
And they do a pretty good job, but not everybody goes to the pro shop and not everybody starts on hole number 1.
I think this room is appropriate and change. Give us another.
Okay. Moving on to number of riders. This came from the golf committee to be added verbiage in red. It says right now only 2 players and 2 golf bags are allowed in any golf cart. They felt that the exception should be children 12 years of age or younger are allowed to play with 2 or other golfers on the same cart with a maximum of 3 players. That's usually a child with a dad or grandparents or something. So I want to clarify that. And under golf cart operation, they came up with some modifications there as well. When it's the number of riders. So the maximum number of players in a golf cart is 2, with the exception outlined in the rule of number of riders. Any questions on that?
Yeah, just a comment. We had an incident in the last 30 to 60 days, and we've got to make sure that the pro shop knows and understands what the ruling on carts are, the number of occupants and carriers, because they weren't. I don't believe adhering to this rule.
Were they not adhering to it, or were they just not any rule?
Well, the cart and the players that went through the pro shop to go play on the course, so it's a matter of just confirming, you know, and I don't know the best religious either, to confirm what type of cart is being used, because it was a 6-passenger cart, and they were crossing fairways, and the rule states, you know, as it's stated now, that is not allowable, but when the communication went to them, they were coming back saying, there's been a request to get that modified. And I don't, you know, the rules state one thing and they're believing another.
Okay, we'll make sure pro shop and marshals know, but those extending carts aren't permitted on the golf course other than the golf cart path, period. And there have been violations, and it's up to the marshal and the pro shop when the cart comes on the first tee to live that. Pro shop doesn't know what kind of cart they're in.
So with this rule, with the new red, you cannot drive a 6-seat golf cart on the course.
You can drive it on the golf cart path only.
You cannot go in the grass with a 6-seater playing, which is too correct.
That's correct. That's an existing rule, been there for a long time.
Yeah, I have a question up on, the one just about it, when it talks about exceptions of children 12 years of under. That can play with two other golfers. For those golfers, do they have to be older as well? And second, I think you just talked about it being like mom and dad, but.
They have to be able to, they have to be 13 because they have to drive a golf cart. So if they're 13 or older, then they're fine.
Any other questions on the golf cart part? Okay, you have one more, George, I think.
That's one. I figured this one seemed to get the most attention. Watercraft registration. And I know board members have been hearing a lot of complaints about this in the last couple of months. Most of the people come to the committee, their complaint is, well, there's no date on when the registration has to be completed, when they have to be put on the watercraft. So to begin with, we said, well, we'll add that. And what we came up with was that the registrations have to be current, they expire calendar year, and have to be replaced and renewed and displayed on the watercraft by January 31st of the following year. Gives them a whole month. That's about the time you get to re-register your car. Do we feel that that's unreasonable?
My concern again, I don't think we should just blatantly punish members. How many boats do we have registered? Do you know that off the top of your head?
Do not, sir.
1,000 boats, 30 days. Can Kendall even handle that?
No, Kendall cannot.
Is there a reason, I mean, if it's not on the water, what is the perks called, for lack of a better term, of not being registered by February 1st?
You can't have a car on your property that's not registered. Do we want to have a collection of junk boats or boats? And I'll bring something to your attention. I know where you're going, Dylan. I understand that. I got a list just this year. These are the citations written for watercraft registration violations. 2021, 2021, 2016, 2020, 2024, 2020, 2024. Is it unreasonable to request that a boat that was last registered in 2016 be current?
They can store it at their house.
The rule reads not for storing your house, you have to have a register.
One of the things you don't know if it's stored, it's sitting in the driveway, and it's not been pulled to a ramp and put in the water. No one knows that for a fact, because it can be.
And they often are. And is a boat on a lift considered in the water?
Yes.
So I understand where people are going. I think when I heard the rule, I was where Dylan is. So in the conversations that I've had, people give me feedback. I think people just assume that it only has to have a sticker if you put it on water use the boat just So to me, I would expand or clarify within this yes, that it's any watercraft on the private property, if that's the idea that it's starting to be enforced within this rule. Otherwise, you get to is it on the lift, water, then on the trailer, then it gets more complicated. But if the idea, the concept that we're trying to form is, cars in some standard. I'm fine with that. I just think it's
I thought that just before this meeting, and what's going on now, so the minor modification to that. I've added watercraft without a current registration are not allowed to be parked or stored outside of a private or community property, regardless of covering used by a tarp or other means. So they can't be put up in a storage area. Is that where you're going with that, Dan?
There's no doubt that that clarified it. Which is what you were asking. I guess the question would be, Is January 31 the right date, or is there another date that's more appropriate?
And there are a lot of people out here that got boats, they've got fish, and they found. Take their car and fish catch on, or Grand Roberts or somewhere else. See for hustle. I don't fish even those lakes, I just, it's all fine. But it takes. So a lot of people have registered. I don't use.
That they can't slow it here. Well, they can if they abide by the rules. I understand what you're saying, but
So what is the purpose of the registration? In theory, it's to just make sure that.
that's partially it, correct? Well. We're, the condition of, we don't,
Good way for not, drawing point ready for not operating.
that's up to the side. And how do you know it's not going to be something kind of waters, the Cecil's point, you know, if it's locked, I can see where it's not.
It will be locked, but
Only if it's locked.
they have to bring it in first.
So if it's locked and on their property, doesn't, you're submitting that it should not require a Lake Kiowa registration.
So the rule states that after a certain period of time, you can get that boat unsecured and that lock cut off. Once you pass the figure, what's called the quarantine test, you could still be sitting in that driveway and you could have security come and unlock it for 10, 30 days. Now you have an unregistered boat that you could go put in the water and no one would even know.
And not registered, they then get unlocked. So someone can actually go fish another lake with, having.
That's lots, right? 7 there, exactly. Yes, you can unlock the boat, make sure it's registered, so why would I do that? From your perspective, right? It does seem that if the boat is in a lift, that has good potential, it will be in the water. And, you know, some people keep them up there for years, but, those should be registered. So again, they just have to be, as we think about this some more, that might be when we decide that we're gonna able to work this meeting and not include this round. Do that. But
Yeah, those were warning versus citation. Those all citations are.
The issuer side, that one side listed were citations, warnings have on that, I don't got to listen to warnings. But those are just citations for the first 3 months of this year. I'm sorry, since March 15th of this year.
That's good. Yeah. So if you're gonna.
You have to supply proof of insurance to get registration for Kiowa. Now, the proof of insurance on the boat, they're normally cars, you get it from April to April, January.
But my point is, it's not heavy lift. Either way, favor for insurance. So, we- superior. But in the other case, if it's secret. So say we're gonna ask you lots of foods with all the money here. It's really just so to be doing some sessions it's fine to say so much. But I think it's very unclear.
It just can't be unlocked until you get current registration. That's a good point. There's probably I can't count on maybe 3 fingers of people like that.
Okay, we still haven't addressed the issue of the dating of that. All of those people, Kendall, January. They're.
But
We would extend that to like end of February, 60 days at the first of the year to get a break.
Whatever you feel comfortable with. Right now, people are complaining they don't have a date.
Right.
No, I was just gonna say, so currently, I know the rule has always been has to be registered, but primarily I would say from January to September, I'm having people register boats. And that's 9 months spread out, so, and if we wanna do a date that is as early as January 31st, I think we have to take a look at the process and how that we streamline that, so it's faster or
Is there a way to auto send out this stuff?
auto send out.
Like it need to be if I go down next month, they send me my thing, I just pay them $72 or whatever it is.
I have to check with our like North Star support, I don't believe so.
So in North Star, does it say that I have a vote? And it's registered?
Yes, well, it doesn't say that it's registered, it has your boat listed. And then when I register it, I put the date that it was registered for and the expiration.
And then I could run a report, or you could run a report and look at all of those, right?
Yes.
Or go to the entry register.
Yeah, my only problem with that was, is then, I mean, I guess it wouldn't be a problem necessarily, but then people are having to put 6 stickers on their boat during 2025, because. People.
It's no problem to change the state. It was put in there because quite honestly, we don't know how many boats are out there. But we do know that the majority of citations written for watercraft registration are when they're on the land. Or out on the lake, we don't have the number of security, no compliance officers out on the lake looking to make sure the boat trims. That's another issue. So, well, we thought this might alleviate some of that.
The recommendation. Is there a recommendation to change the date? Do you like the wording that he's provided here? Or do you want to table this date for the next time?
It's the change I made that asked around if I added your issue about lock boats, which is not unreasonable. And if it's comfortable with everybody with that be sufficient to deal with this. Vehicle, and I'll submit that tomorrow.
Yes, it's like figuring out what the POA, and
Not in a month, is that reasonable, you know? February.
Well, March first, it's February. I got two different dates.
I was gonna say March first, let's do March first, so we have it done by March first, and then you also have, we talked about from a lot vote perspective, is that work for everybody?
And so I understand. I see.
It'd be good to be more security on the water, find those unregistered boats. That was part of the thought process.
I just think the idea of like, I would love my. I think. Yeah, it's good one, practically like. I guess. Need the registration. That's.
So really, the compliance needs to be on water, not in my driveway, that's what you're saying, right? That be correct? Is that why? Since it's a is that from that perspective, but we still go in once the first, if they lock it on out there, that is correct?
As long as we've got a solid process, that you lock it, it stay on.
So. Was off your trailer. But now we're just two different things, I think. And it's on your property, but not in the water on top of yours.
I think you make a general statement about we're worried about protecting our water, we're not necessarily worried about a boat being or anything, but additionally. To combat both, it needs to be locked, because I think Trump's still.
I mean, the locking, I mean, that's gonna be a security to facilitate the locking. I mean. I think that the idea that we're trying to protect the water is a whole premise of the. I mean, what is the premise of the?
The locking is to protect the water from the zebra mussels. The
registration is
the registration, so when you're on the water, your boat is insured effectively.
And yeah, I think that's being enforced, like if you're caught on the water without registration. Final day, you know, fine, whatever, no one's. If I don't take my boat out for an entire year, why should I have to register? That's mine.
It doesn't cost anything.
Sorry? No, there's no cost.
Cost insurance.
Well, they don't cost of insurance.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, if I don't want to not go on the water for a year, why not? That's not.
I just don't put it in the water.
Yes. Oh, this, I mean, when you get it locked, you do the same thing. This is say, we're not being 3 years, it's security locked, if it's locked, then you don't lose insurance.
Yeah, and that's not a problem. I just think, you know,
Yeah.
practically, it's pretty simple to look at.
Yeah, but it's, I don't keep it on trailer here in my, on my lift. And I know like last year, I locked it wrong, it took me a long time to figure out, so we didn't use it all the time, and then how do you lock it to a lift? So I just think that if the purpose is to ensure that people have insured boats out there, and we know it don't have enough security staff on stuff, that trying to define water, lift, trailer, personal property, trailer storage, gets really hard to enforce. So I think either we take out a lot of stuff and short that back in, or they just go with what we've been doing until now. It is saying, so, we have to make a decision against that. It has to be a law and just define it that way. Because doing the people that are doing the feedback is more, on water or not for the. So I think we just need to provide it. My recommendation would be taking all this conversation and going back to your with people and see if we can help with something that fits us a little bit more.
Can do.
Good question.
Or one other issue, I never registered my boat until I was ready to go fishing the first time. It might be March or April, and I think a lot of people do that. So we need to make it clear in this rule that it's not just watercraft, but it's watercraft even when not on the water unless locked. So that people will understand that you need to register it, even if you're not going to be on the lake for 6 or 8 months. some people don't go out and take, go do lot. But let's let them know.
Okay, I'll clarify that a little more. I thought, without current registration, you're not allowed to park or be stored outside on your private property. You couldn't cover that, but we'll extend.
I have one question, and the reason something was in red, it's September 1993. So you have to be 30, less than 32, and you have to have shown you've taken a course, is that correct, to drive a boat?
Ask Cecil. I don't have a boat.
I was trying to add up on my fingers how old I had to be.
Oh, yeah.
I think you qualify.
Thanks.
And I don't know where that came, honestly, I don't know where that came from, that date, it should be a rolling date based on the age.
Because it's almost like you're gonna card me because I'm 21.
Yeah, that should be updated. It should be in the age.
So that seems like we started doing it a long time ago and we've never moved it forward.
Oh.
I was just trying to figure out how old Dylan had to be. Oh, you probably need it completed there. Yeah.
I'm not sure how that rule applies. I interpret it as, well, if you were born before that date, you don't have to take any class, but it did.
There are two, right? I mean, there's like a Lake Kiowa safety words that we, but
Yes.
All of that specification is under the operation or operating of the watercraft, that's all defined there and not under, this is just plain registration. That way. Separate rules.
Yes, Steve?
Date of 1993 was back in 2015 when I was on the board, and that's when Gary Cotton was on the board. That's when all that came into play, and that's when it was put into effect. 2015.
That was 22, so you had to be 22.
Was the rationale because of the age or was that year or something?
It was a state, it was a
State statute.
state test, and that's what was available at that time.
Probably nothing.
If you're not registered at low, you had to go.
Course, it was just a training course to make sure you knew how to operate the color.
Okay. Anything else, George?
I'll refer to some boat owners on the committee to give me direction on that.
Okay, so we're gonna pull the watercraft registration out from this, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, with everybody. Any other changes or updates or anything that George has been presented that you wanted to make?
Did we ask our contractors to the?
We will do that tomorrow morning and send it up to Rich, and he'll send you a Word document that you can make any other modifications you want.
Did we want to change the reckless driving to 20 miles over or just leave it at 15? That was the discussion there.
Yeah,
Oh,
All right, any other changes that are here, I'll bring back up for you. Any other changes? All right, do I have a motion?
to change it to 20.
All right. Dylan says change it to 20 and Ronnie seconds that. All those in favor of changing it to 20? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, and those opposed? All right.
thank you.
All right, so we'll change that to 20, George. All right.
Just before you go to it.
Thanks for acknowledging that.
And even though they already told you how to do it the first time, so.
I know you're all faced with this every month, so.
All right, so. Is there a motion for you to approve these rules? Remind me that these rules, if you approve them, we can approve them pending the feedback from the members, because all of these can go to the members and for member input, or we can wait until the next meeting to approve them pending input. Up to you.
In the past, you've always, you publish them and allow members to comment, and sometimes they come back with good suggestions, so I would suggest you allow members input and table them until the next board meeting.
We'll do so, and then we'll post these out there in constant contact with people to do that for us, so that we can get input.
Now, the next board meeting is less than 30 days, so we might have to table it until June. We waited this long. Sure.
We might, but at least we can get input. In that one section.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Joyce. Thank you very much. Our volunteers that make it happen all the way. All right, Rich, I think you're almost to the reset here, I think. All right, Rich.
Get in there close as fast as I can.
Okay.
Trying to talk slow. I didn't put a car sheet in your packet. Nothing really changed. Just gonna do things around that were approved previously. I'm only asking for one fund request. And it's already an existing item, just asking for additional funds. The funding request is in regards to the driving range, which 300,000 was already approved. I have a list of expenses current, as well as a couple of quotes for additional expenses. As detailed, currently we're about over $324,000 spent. We still need to spring the range, which will be in excess of 28,000. Still need to build a building from a ball machine, ball washer, and equipment. That'll be over 27,000, and then plus we still just have some other minor things, the targets out in the range, etc. That'll exceed the original 300,000 plus the donation that was previously approved. So I'm asking basically to max out the possible funds under 400,000, so a total of 399,000, which is an additional $20,000 request.
Is there a motion to approve that? So you can discuss it. And I have a motion for it to approve the for $20,000. Is there any discussion?
It's, I think it's important, you know, that this is the driving range separate. So I heard someone ask about find that out. That we know we're not throwing the money said you can bring us money for all the sense.
Note also that we chose to put the driving range when we had funds, additional donation funds, and we had construction equipment on the site. So it saved us money too. All right. All right, the motion for you, any other discussions or excuse me? Any motion for you is to approve the additional $20,000 for the completion of the driving range. All those in favor? Raise your hand, say aye. All right. Any notes? Motion carries 8-0. All right, anything else, Rich?
No, I just want to make one more note. We're talking about the building. I have a quote in there, as well as some drawings that will be a metal building, just for clarification. So that's who will ask that just for funding, for an industrial equipment building. So I thought that was appropriate. You know, some people have So there's issues about it. We have some metal buildings in the POA and architecture. We have some residential issues.
Garage doors on, you got two on it, correct? One for equipment and one for the all access.
Actually, there's three. There's one for the close out for the ball machine for access for the users. Then we actually have two garage doors so that we can actually pull through. Okay.
This is others on the subject. Okay. Yeah, it's got. Okay. All right, anything else, Rich?
Yeah, just go over.
Will this building attach here, like the potential pavilion, not the same? Like,
Very interested in keeping similar designs back in.
It'll look very similar. The restroom is wood construction, but it's going to have a white coloring, brown accents, and it's going to be the work pad style. So visually, it'll look the same, but sure it's going to be different.
Trim colors and. Anything else, Rich?
Part three update. I think Jeff mentioned we're looking to spring the greens late May, which would hopefully meet probably a late July opening. If all the weather and everything holds up. Same thing with the driving range. Hopefully we'll be open the same day. Springing those about the same time. Pickleball courts. We headed off our RFP. We received 7 today. We'll be reviewing them tomorrow, so I can give you a better update next board meeting. Regarding the dam, we've been going over the local project for quite a while. I kind of just gave a detailed summary. We've talked about a lot and tried to just run down exactly what's going on. It's about a 3-week process because of Memorial Day and then July 4th. We're trying to take a couple dates early May. Early June, so we consider the performance, at the activity time is elevated up late because we will have to close that area, be around road traffic, et cetera.
Rich, I'll make sure there's plenty of communication going up. As you said, we would be locked up. Everyone's well aware in advance.
Carol, you have a question?
I do, but the rain through the back, but what's the status on the asphalt of the parkway on the driving range?
It's on this round of asphalting. There's been some rain. They actually had the equipment fail on the lease off on the side for a while, so the equipment was down. Next thing to get done is actually the 1-lane bridge. After they're done with the 1-lane bridge, they'll head over to the part 3. They do have some work to do on gravel grading, et cetera, but it should be done in this round. It's actually calculated one soon.
Maybe 2 weeks.
Last 2 weeks. Yeah.
So I just want to know.
Yeah.
Here, Rich, I have one question for you on the low flow of the dam. So if I go through and do all that and they're down there on step 12 and 13, and it doesn't open, we have to put another one in that would come back and we'll have to go back to TCEQ. What an opportune time.
Okay.
That's our thought.
We discussed before the contingencies, if it opens, doesn't open, with valve, the tower structure itself. Yes, if for any reason, either it doesn't open or 6, we'll have to put in the second valve, which actually we already discussed in advance, where that'll be actually at the outlet side. So when that doesn't rise, we'll address it. But let's say we can't open it or can't close it, we can't open it, obviously, it's kind of just open, can't open stuff. We'll have that abandoned tower structure at some point, so that'll be possible to put a valve in. If it's 6 open, there'll be the bladder in there, which is stop it from leaking. Obviously, so all these contingencies are at the bottom. But yes, depending if one of those things happen, it will sit there until we come back here. Have additional funds met. TCEQ shouldn't be the largest claim. I don't have to double check, but I believe those were all presented.
Anything else?
Just to go through kind of the North Star update, new platform seems to be working well. I don't think there's any bugs. Got a few more things we're trying to work out, but it's really smoothly. Public works, a lot of these items, roads, et cetera, your public works, updated more goods, more detail. Security report, and those citations were mentioned. 36 citations were issued in February, 21 of which were proceeding. It's fairly consistent, again, it's like, one a day or less than 1 day, especially skating. So it's not people criticize sometimes, overenforcing or just giving out skating tickets. For the amount of traffic that is here, I don't think that's very high number. Trying to get the skating down, so I think that's the best way to address it. Compliance, still security, but compliance more on the personal behavior, but the condition of your property, etc. Penny's been going out, she gets off many warnings and citations, for 24 warnings and citations, and again, like detail under the report your packet. Going to the golf course, the green certification is scheduled for Monday and Tuesday, May 5th and 6th. And then we had some discussion before about key times and tournament schedules. Leslie, McElroy supplied a spreadsheet for you all, and I forget what was mentioned before, but half the days are taken up by tournaments and how many key times are taken. When you actually take the total account of all the key times available, it's 18% of key times are taken by tournaments currently.
Rich, a couple of questions. Sure, I do. The security report, the compliance issues. How many of those your association? The number of markers that they have in their house.
The address identification, or 6 warnings and 4 citations. It's obviously for everybody, she actually issues a warning or a notice and gives you an opportunity to comply. Most of the compliance issues, they're not something that you've acted out, so they're curable. So almost every compliance action is curable, so you're given an opportunity to correct it. She's going to go around, constantly around the entire community. Obviously, it takes time. I've done it before. I spent about 6 months doing address identification the first time I did it personally. So it takes a lot of time. You send out a notice, you give them 2 weeks to comply, they don't comply, or you contact and say, hey, we got an order, it's on there. And some people don't want to reply, don't want to do anything, and they end up getting a citation. But usually it's because they haven't replied at all.
Okay, is there a specific time between the first warning notice and the actual citation that comes secondarily?
It can vary. It's 2 weeks a month, and it depends on her turnover. But it's 2 weeks to get the notice, respond, that you have ordered or whatever you're doing. But yeah, I think it's more than sufficient with time to at least get a response.
Well, it took me over 2 weeks to get my marker ordered.
Yeah, that's what I said. So you shouldn't get a citation. If you ordered it, you notified her that
I did get one. Unfortunately, the day it came in the mail, and about an hour later, the guys from the fire department came by and stuck it down. Timing is everything.
Well, I'll let Mel respond one more if she wants to.
Good evening, guys. She gives you a 30-day notice, so 30 days to get your address placard in. If you ordered it through Indian Creek, is what it's not suggested, but she lets you know that if you order it through Indian Creek then returns because he's behind by 2 or 3 weeks. So Indian Creek sends us an email and says, hey, I'm behind, and these are the people that are on my list. So what a lot of people done, most people, that says, hey, I ordered my address placard, and so what Patty will do is note it on the flow sheet that she does have. So, and I gotta say, so I'm sorry. Yeah, so most people do communicate on there, and there's a whole lot of communication that people can call.
On my part.
Or always on most of that, security, again, there's a number on their email, just call security, let them know. Again, if you haven't ordered your building a sign, just let them know that at least you're addressing it.
Okay, well, it's done now. Right,
Rich, on the security issue, we had a lot of discussion last year about time on the lake and citations related to watercraft activity. And do we have a schedule of when we're gonna start back up? Being used?
They're just starting up now. I'll get you a spreadsheet for next month to get this market time. You use the term curable, so I just wanted to ask this question since we just beat Georgia pretty bad on this watercraft registration. So why would we not, and I've had this because I get phone calls, so I don't even have a note here. Why would we not write them a warning, give them 30 days to cure it before we write a citation?
You're doing it on the admin signs. And other things.
Yeah, to be consistent.
The POA, the philosophy on that, the POA has sent out 3 emails and says, hey, get it done, get it done, get it done. The lake management has sent one out, get it done. I sent one out, get it done. So that's approximately 5 emails that says get it done. And we don't start issuing citations until April.
You missed a lot of that registration.
So you may have seen one in March because it's 2016, 2021. We didn't start issuing them for 2024 until April.
George just wrote the list of their coming on this thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, there were several that were not there.
Any other questions for Rich? Dan?
Changing topics. It's really a thank you to Rich, Scott, and the staff that, this meeting's being live streamed for the first time in a long time. We're using Zoom technology to get it out. We've made a great effort in the last few months to be able to be more accommodative to try to make sure everyone has a chance to see all these things. So that, Rich said out multiple times, and Rich plus the team, that, here's the recording from last meeting, here's the minutes, here's the treasurer's report. Now we're proactively sending stuff out, saying live streaming it. We have a chance to come to the meeting, which obviously there's a few diehards here. There's 3 times as many people across playing poker than in here, unfortunately. But you get a chance to see it live stream, you get to see it live, not get to see it a recording, you get minutes as soon as they're approved. So all that is positive change, and I really appreciate the efforts by Rich and team to do that.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay, all right. Any additional business that we need to bring before us right now? Do we have any comments from the members that are in here? Is there other opportunity to speak? If you have any questions? It's been a few.
I'll do it. This, the whole boat registration thing, I mean, I think you would move this way, it has to be like a 60-day window, if it's due January 31st, then you start December 1st. And that gives people 60 days to do it, so, I mean, you still get bombarded with deadline, but in the meantime, you don't have a problem. I'm just suggesting. No, you missed the whole discussion. Okay.
Thank you, Jeannie. Any other comments from the members? All right. We will move to an executive session in just a little bit. How long do you want? A 2-minute break? All right, at 8:20, we'll be moving to the executive session. And so thank you very much for those that were coming. If you're here afterwards because you have an appeal, please come back at 8:20. We'll go from there. Now our recess.